My name is Julia, and I'm here with a co-host, Mark Lundgren. We're here today to talk about the tools and instruments to think about the automation problem in the strategy of sourcing, recruitment, and engagement. So a few words about us. I'm sure probably all of you know Mark. Because he's been a keynote speaker at many conferences. So probably many of you have met him. Mark, could you please tell a little bit more about yourself? Maybe there are those people that have never met you.
Sure. So as you can see, my name is Mark. My name is Mark Lundgren. I'm originally Danish, so having cold weather in the winter is something I should be used to, but I'm still not. I've been in the industry for way too many years, going on 19 years, specifically in the specialism of sourcing in the last 4 to 5 years, and kind of working with tools to try to automate a lot of that. I am predominantly an in-house recruiter, but on a freelance basis. So I generally help startups, scale-ups, technology companies to find people and engage them and get them in the recruitment process. So I've been working with Amazing Hiring as a tool and the lovely people there for the last 2 years. But we wanted to show a bit of some of the things that I use and that we use in the companies that we work in to get you better at automating part of that process.
Thank you. So a few words about myself. My name is Julia, and I'm in charge of business development and customer success here at Amazing Hiring. Well, I come from the recruitment background myself. Before the beginning of my career in Amazing Hiring, I used to be a recruiter, first a graduate recruiter, then a technical recruiter, then an HR business partner. So, my role in Amazing Hiring now is, I think, greatly contributed by my experience, hands-on experience of working with recruitment teams across Europe. So what we wanted to do today is also to run our session quite interactive. So there's a possibility to ask questions. We would really appreciate if you guys ask questions. We allocated time in the end of our session. So me and Mark, we would be able to answer and share our experience, or maybe the experience of some of our friends or customers. So a few words about our agenda. So we will start with a short framework, what and how we believe an effective tech hiring team should be structured, and what are the key pillars. We will talk about the automatization and at what stage of the process, and also how we can introduce automation. We will talk about specific technology, and here this would be also quite a practical piece of our journey today. So we will screen share and show some of the hacks or tips that we use ourselves. And then we will be happy to answer your questions and share some of the useful materials that we've prepared for this session. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Good morning. I hope you all have your cups of tea or coffee with you. So we really hope we will make this session as much fun as we possibly can. Mark, would you help me with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as I promised, a framework which is designed by us together, but of course it's based on many presentations and articles and experience from people from all over the globe, actually. So when we talk about the technical hiring team, what are the 4 main building blocks that we can talk about? So the first one, which probably you would all agree, is the continuous recruitment model. That means that even if you think that your house is full, it's still very important from the managerial side to keep recruitment and constantly look for people well, in your location. Or right now, the technical recruitment is one of the positions where the demand is growing enormously. So probably you've already also faced this problem. I've been talking to many people recently in Amsterdam at the Sourcing Summit, where they shared that it was a problem with developers a couple of years ago. Now the technical recruiters, actually the people that are hunting for developers, they become those unicorns. So continuous recruitment model is very important. Okay, I see that if you guys cannot hear us, try refreshing. So that's the specifics of the tool of Livestorm. So you can always try to refresh the page if there are some problems with sound. Yeah, okay, so the continuous education is the second building block. And I'm sure you guys are following a lot of blogs on sourcing and strategic blogs on recruitment and so on and so forth. Mark, I wanted just to invite you here to this discussion and ask what are your favorite educational materials? Is there anything that you always follow and that you would recommend?
There's always, there's so many things to follow. Obviously, there's something new comes out every day if you really wanted to. I generally tend to follow Hong Lee's newsletter. Brain Food comes out every Sunday. Main thing for that is that Hong goes through a lot of the kind of materials that come out and just boils it down to what he thinks is the most interesting, and there's always something for it for me that I can read, and it means I don't have to spend all my time looking for things to look for. Other than that, I used to do a lot of conferences, so everything that kind of comes out around that, whether I've been to the conference myself or I can see the videos or the articles from the conferences is generally where I get most of the things that I look at.
Cool. Yeah, and speaking about the shareable knowledge database, that's always important. The Hungry's newsletter is now searchable as well. They have a website, so it's a great place where we can go and find answers to many questions. But of course, the in-house like database with all the questions, answers, and processes is also very important for sourcing. The playbook, as we call it. So this is obviously a topic for another webinar. However, the sourcing playbook, it's quite an important part of the whole process. Not just the playbook which is written in stone, but the one which is constantly updated. Self-development plans, here it's transparent. The metrics. Guys, let us know if you would like to see the sourcing metrics template. I have a really good one that we've been sharing with our customers. It's just an Excel where you can, add your own KPIs. So let us know after the webinar if you would like me to send it to you, the metrics for sourcing, a template which is easy to use. So when we have the people who would do the job, we have educated them and we know how to measure them. Now, being managers, what would be the main thing that we need to do is to think at what stage of the process we can help and automate, what we can do to ease their workload. So I believe that thinking of how to make the team more effective and where to save time for your team is one of the biggest managerial tasks. So as an advice, we try to embed the automation at every stage of the recruitment. So speaking about the stages, of course, this is a super high level overview of the stages, but then we can talk about automating the search and screening phase, and we will talk about it today. And then the engagement, which is currently becoming a new focus. it's like a new black, because in my experience, a couple of years ago, everything was about sourcing. Everyone was keen on sourcing. All the conferences were on sourcing. So how to source, what are the main sources, what to do differently from others, what are those unconventional sources. So I think that now this era of sourcing is a little bit, coming to an end. Everyone is already more or less good with all the tips and hacks, and people are using sourcing tools. So you don't really need to think about your sourcing hacks that much if you use a sourcing tool. So now the focus is on engagement. Would you agree with me, Mark? How do you think about this trend? It's like, do you see?
I mean, especially in the technical area, I've been saying that for the last couple of years. Like, look, finding people is not the hard thing. The hard thing is like getting them to talk to you. We all have tools coming out of both of our ears that will tell us how to find people or automate how to find people or long list. And, everybody's fishing in the same pond in terms of LinkedIn for most of the time. And that's not really the hard thing. The hard thing is because there's so much noise in what we do and with the people we're trying to talk to, actually getting them on a call with you or, getting them to actually come and meet us is the hardest thing. So for me, engagement has been a big topic for many years. Just now, I think more and more are realizing that it is and it will be. There's only a finite number of people that's gonna, join the industry or, get educated or who has the skills that we're looking for, and that's not gonna grow substantially. So standing out and doing things differently or doing something that's actually gonna make you be somebody that they want to talk to is the name of the game today.
Absolutely, yeah. And then management. Well, the sourcing management, where like the main advice probably is just track everything that's trackable. Make sure that all your systems have good reporting, just to make sure that you can always look back at the numbers and do A/B tests and try to always, iterate based on the numbers. Okay, so looking at the problems at each of the stage, we wanted just to come up with simple questions that you guys might probably want to ask yourselves when you look at the stages of recruitment specifically. So when we are looking for the candidates, when we want to apply some preliminary pre-screening to the candidate pools, the main question and the problem is, well, obvious. So where is my ideal candidate? What's the most effective way to find them? When we look at the engagement, the communication domain, again, we look at what's the best way, how we can attract them, how we can attract the candidates we need to our jobs, to our company. And then the pipeline management, the candidate management is, more or less a follow-up question. We look at what we do and we ask ourselves, do we get the maximum? Are we using our talent pipeline to its potential, to the fullest potential? Is there anything else that we can do? So thinking about the answers to those 3 questions, we wanted to offer some of the answers, how to solve those problems, and that would be the focus of our webinar today. So when we look at the ideal candidate and where to find them, again, in the era of sourcing, when the sourcing was the most popular topic for recruiters, we were looking at all the unconventional sources. So, of course, LinkedIn or job boards is this is the base. That's from what recruiters and sources start. But then, when you know some other sources, you become a better recruiter. You could use professional networks. If you look for technical talents, for example, GitHub or Stack Overflow, or you can look at meetups and scrape some meetups if you're looking for some other professions. So you look at people who go to some specific meetups in your city, and so on and so forth. However, again, right now we are in the situation when there are too many sources, and it's practically not possible to keep track of all of them. So the centralized sourcing approach becomes the solution. This is the approach which has been introduced by the aggregators. Amazing Hiring is one example. There are more. So the aggregators, the systems that help to centralize sourcing. You source in one place, but you get the results from many, many sources. Raw data and enrichment of the data. This is also about some meetups or user groups in the internet that recruiters can scrape to get access to the most relevant candidates. This is a little bit on the verge of pre-screening as well. So again, we can look at, we can make a simple search and see all the people in a location that have a skill. However, how do we know who are really interested in developing in this area? We can look at people, for example, who would at the same time go to a meetup and then scrape the data and find and proactively reach out to them. Referral automation, a great way to make sure that all of your employees are really referred their friends, ex-colleagues, and other acquaintances. So you probably know some of the most successful companies have, well, from 10 to 30% of new employees coming to the company by referrals. And probably many of you have even tried to introduce the referral program in your own company. And you know, as well as I know myself, it's not always work. And it really usually requires a big investment, not just in the beginning when we launch the program, but when we have to keep track on it. And when we need to make sure that an employee who has referred a friend has a really great experience, so they wouldn't be discouraged to refer a friend one more time because of some drawbacks of the system. So the automation platforms make it really, really easy to refer. And I'd like to also talk a little bit more about it today. So we will come with some examples. Engagement and answering how can I attract people question. So I'm a big advocate of multi-touch and multimedia approach to engagement. That means follow-ups, follow-ups, and follow-ups, at least 2 follow-ups, which is multi-touch and multimedia. It's not just the rhythm of nurturing campaign, but also the usage of various platforms where we can connect with our potential candidate. Personification, that's what Mark has mentioned. This is how we can stand out from the crowd, use some new methods. Well, you probably, guys, you all know good candidates receive up to plus 10 LinkedIn emails per day. This is the situation with software developers or data scientists that are in a great demand currently. So what should we do to stand out of the crowd? How we can use automation with that? And copywriting, well, just I couldn't not use it here. And then the candidate management, getting most from the pipeline. Database update, it's close to data enrichment. That's about how to make your own database work. The automation of the process of revisiting your old candidates, which is now becoming a big trend. And I think this is something that we'll be focusing more and more and discuss more and more going forward. And of course, smart candidate management and nurturing and tracking. This is something that we can talk about today. Okay, so now we go to the tools. So, we are limited by time, so we only added a few tools, and I think the best outcome of the webinar would be if you at least test or ask your colleagues to test at least 2 or 3 tools, because you don't need well, obviously you don't need all of them, but if you would introduce some more automation to your process, we would already be happy. Actually, Mark, I just met someone who shared with me that as a company they started to use Vidyard after our last webinar, which we held, about I think what 6 or 8 months ago, and people are very happy. So I hope we will have some more adults today. So to start with, what we can do for search and pre-screening. I already mentioned that multi-sourcing, sourcing in a centralized way across the channels, this is something that we can do with the help of sourcing tools. That actually helps you to make sure you will never lose on any candidates that are probably not on LinkedIn. So you can dig beyond LinkedIn. That's one thing. Then another thing is that, well, LinkedIn does not have all the data. So you would enrich the profile, the LinkedIn profile of a candidate with the data from social networks or professional communities. And that would give you context. And the context is the key to a successful communication. So just a short example. I will need to switch between my screens. So bear with me just for a second. Okay. So this is the example of how it's organized in Amazing Hiring, but well, it's probably more or less similar across the sourcing tools that are used mainly in the US or some local sourcing tools. So I can use, well, a standard Boolean search form, for example, and create, well, the same Boolean search query, which we would use in, let's say, Google or LinkedIn, or I can use an AI sourcing. So my point is, if I go to a full stack developer talent pool, let's say in Amsterdam, the system would bring me all of the people in a way of aggregated profiles. So what is an aggregated profile? This is a profile which is built based on the information, publicly available information, from many different sources. So in this case, for example, we can see we've indexed Janusz LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, there's his GitLab, there's his Stack Overflow, there's his Bitbucket. In some other cases, it may be Facebook and Twitter, like for David, for example, or the link to Meetup. So why we need it in this one and the same place? Well, if sources know they need context, they need more information to make sure that their outreach is really effective. So they could go and cross-reference. Okay, so we can check what David has on LinkedIn, but well, maybe he's going to some other conference recently, and we can look for this information in his Facebook. Or we can check, maybe he has visited the conference where our colleagues were also present. So, you know, we can use it as a good example or as a good communication point. We can check his Twitter. Maybe there are some of the tweets that we would like to retweet or somehow, tap in the conversation. Mark, maybe you can share some other examples. How would you use the sources for the candidate to make sure that your communication is effective?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about finding more information, but that's definitely one of them. So, I mean, I use this a lot, mainly because a lot of the time I'm looking for people who are working with technical skills that might not show up on LinkedIn at all or very seldom. So I would have to go into the likes of GitHub and actually see, like, is it something that they are working on in one of the open repositories, or are they following the right people on Twitter, or just in terms of meetup groups, which is what I use a lot. Which meetup groups are they in? Because that's going to give me an indication of whether there's something they're interested in. But also just from a follow-up point of view, like even if I have emailed them first, I would send follow-up emails, but I would also go in and say, well, if I have them on Twitter, then one, I'll follow them, because that means that my Twitter profile is going to get, that's going to get in their notifications. But also just seeing, have they tweeted something lately that is interesting for my audience, that I could maybe retweet, and at the same time go in and put something like retweet that, or like something that they tweeted, just to kind of see, to get on that, they can see that you've done that, but also just to share the information that they have. So that makes it a lot easier. So that's what I use. One, to get more information about them that enables me to personalize my approach, but also two, to use the different channels as different ways to contact people. If their Twitter is open for direct messages without being connected, or just following them and seeing if they're going to follow you, so that I can DM them, so that I don't only have to rely on emails.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. Meanwhile, I'm creating a short list of people here in the folder, which I've gave the name Meetup. For example, this would be some of the people that participated in the meetup. Why would I do that? I just wanted to go to the next step of our journey. This is about the personification of our outreach, and how to create a rhythmic and multi-touch sequence. So this is something that is very important if you want to build a scalable process, and also if you have a lot of people working in the team, and you need to make sure the process is scalable, trackable, and you can replicate it at any point of time. So I would, when we go back to the slides, there are a couple of tools that we recommend. For example, Mixmax, Lemlist, Reply.io. So again, there are many tools. I will show it in Amazing Hiring example. Just because we have everything here, we kind of go to a one-stop shop direction. So it's pretty convenient. So let's say I've pre-selected some of the candidates. So what I would do next, I would go and create my sequence. So the sequence of emails is basically, well, it's in our experience, one of the most effective processes of candidate engagement. It should be automated up to the maximum point, up to the point you can automate it using variables, using templates, using follow-ups. However, the personification should also be there. Mark will talk a little bit about using Loom or Vidyard. I just will share how I would create the sequence for those 5 or 105 or 500 people that I've pre-selected to my folder. So here I have some templates. So I would create templates, and I would definitely test the templates. And in this case, metrics will tell us which templates work better. So we can always play with the title of an email. We can play of the personification points of the content of the email as well, of course. But what's important for me, I have a template that I can modify, but also I have the template that could help me to be productive, because I would just need to add the templates with variables. I then would have some follow-ups scheduled, and then I can set the rhythm again, which is important. So here I can, let's say, also schedule some 5 follow-ups, making sure that, oops, this is the wrong one, making sure that, this is the template that works. So how does it work when we have a lot of people that are pre-selected in our folder? Well, how it works in our system, we have personification stage, where I can go and check basically how each of my variables work. So I can make sure that all the people in my list would receive, and I can always preview the message, would receive the message that would be designed specifically for them. So that's about the sequences. That would give you an opportunity to create personified emails to candidates at scale. However, there are some other tricks that we've discussed with Mark, and he would also show some of his favorite ones. So Mark, I will stop sharing my screen so that you can show the video art technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There you go. So yeah, as Julia said, I love working with video. What that means is that, you know, it's not just putting whatever YouTube video of your latest about your company, which is always good to have. Like every company should have that. It doesn't need to be a 30,000 professionally produced one. Just I've seen people just do a walk around their office with their phone and putting that on their company YouTube channel just to have something to show, you know, what's our environment like. But the way that I use video is to get a lot more personal. People get a lot of emails, and especially technical people, and especially technical people who somehow put themselves out there that they might be looking. So for us, it's about getting in. Like, look, the job of the first approach and the engagement is to get them to talk to us. I still need to talk to people. We still need them to come in and hopefully meet with us. But the only job of my approach to people is to get them to talk to me, so that I can see what they would want to do if they would ever look for something, and whether the jobs that I represent is something that they want to do. So the last couple of years, I've used video a lot. And one of the tools that I use for that is called Vidyard. So just to kind of show you how that works. If you, like me, use anything to do with Gmail for company, this works as well with Outlook. So it doesn't really matter what email client you have. I've just used specifically Vidyard. I've used with Outlook because that's what with Gmail, because that's what I had and that's what my company is in. So you write the normal message you would normally write to a person, and then you can put in your videos. So with Vidyard, I already have videos that I've shot before. A lot of them are generalized. So at the moment, I work for a company in Barcelona. So a lot of what we do is about getting people to relocate to Barcelona or to reconnect with them. So I have videos with that. And just to kind of show you what that looks like, I can show you one of the ones that I have. So Vidyard it's a tool where you can shoot a video directly in your email. So, you know, you can either shoot where you share your screen and they can see what you're doing, or you shoot a video where it's just you in front of the camera. I'm just showing you here is one that I have running for the client that we work with in Barcelona. And as you see, I think it's about a 45-second video. But what Vidyard does that I really like is that it does this animated GIF of the first, second or something like that, and that's the thing that actually comes in the email. So if you look at if I go to the email again, if you look at the actual email, what they will see is this GIF. So if I just put that in there, I'm going to insert this. There you go. Like you can write your thing. What I normally write is like, look, instead of writing you a long email that you're not going to read anyway, I made this video for you. This is still a template. Like I could also have done it very personalized, which I do a lot. If it's somebody that I really want to talk to, and I know that it's going to be a long email, or I've done a lot of research on people about seeing, what does a portfolio look like, I know that there's only going to be very few people who know this specific technology. I will go in and I will hyper-personalize it. So instead of making a general video where saying this is what we have to offer and this is why I want to talk to you, I go very specific into like, I found you on Meetup and I saw you a part of this group and that group, which tells me that you're somebody that we really like to talk to. This is what we're trying to build. And then I think another thing as well, which is we haven't talked so much about it here, but it's a big part of like that I combine with video is calendars. So I use a calendar called Acuity Scheduling. I've used Calendly. I've used You Can Book Me. But almost all the things that I send out will have a calendar link at the bottom. I don't want to play email ping pong with people to say like, can you talk on Thursday or Friday? I give them my calendar and they can go in and book their own time. I'm very transparent about how long the call is going to be. So it could be a 15-minute call, which is most of the time just, introduction. It could be half an hour. But they book the time in when it suits them and in whatever time zone they're in, and it goes directly to my calendar. So, that's open. So that's another automation tool which has helped me a lot. And like the way that we work in my company is, getting videos, getting in front of people, and getting calendar links in. So a lot of the time I talk to people that has never responded to me but they know who I am because they've seen a video. And they just schedule their own thing on my calendar. I get an SMS that says that another person booked an interview with me, and I'm happy because it's going to show in my calendar. If people have any questions. So yeah, Vidyard is one of them. Vidyard is for free. It's part of a big kind of, Vidyard runs a lot of marketing email software. Go Video, which is the thing to put videos into, is free for what we do use it with. There's a lot of extra things that you can do on their kind of pro version. But for what we need most of the time, it's a free thing. Loom is another one as well. I think I have it up here somewhere, which it basically shoots either that you screen share, which is you and you're going to be down here. I think I can show that what it actually looks like. It's going to try anyway. So as you see here, cam only. It's going to try to take over my camera, which it won't allow to. So you can just say, okay, I want the screen. And as you can see, when you're not using the camera for a webinar, you're going to be down here and you can kind of, you can decide how big that's going to be. So imagine like even if you work with LinkedIn a lot and you find the people there, you find the email through LinkedIn, either because, they have their email on LinkedIn or you use Amazing Hiring, and you send the person an email where you say, look, this like the first thing they see is a GIF with you in the corner of it, but their LinkedIn profile. And you say, look, the reason I'm reaching out to you and I want to talk to you is these are the things on your LinkedIn profile that really stood out to us. And we would love to talk to you about an opportunity we have or, what you would like to do in your future and see if there's something that we could do for you. That's going to be much more powerful than you writing that same template email or in-mail that you've been writing for the last 3 years, where it says, because you work for whoever, you're somebody we want to talk to. And yeah, that just makes it takes the same time as it does for you to use an in-mail template. Once you get used to it, even if you do the personalized ones, it takes you a minute to shoot a 1-minute video. And if you do it straight in your email, then you shoot it. It might not be perfect, but you just send it anyway, because guess what? None of us are perfect. So it's about just getting it out there, putting yourself out there, showing that you're a human being and not some robots just sending out emails. You're going to get a lot of responses from like what I get, which is people are like, I'm not interested, but I love that you're doing something else than just the standard emails. I get a lot of those daily. And it just makes you have a different relationship. When you actually get on the phone with somebody, they already feel like they know you a little bit because they've seen a video. Both me and my business partner, that's what we use a lot. And you just get a different kind of, the first call you have with people is completely different.
Awesome. By the way, we have you on the second camera.
Yeah, I have 2 cameras. So if I look here, you can actually see. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Mark, for sharing the videos. here. So if I go back to the presentation, there is one more thing that I wanted to cover today. Just as we are running already quite late. So we've talked a little bit about search and pre-screening, communication and engagement techniques. I also wanted to cover a little bit the data enrichment part, because I think that's an emerging trend which is still underestimated in a way. So how we can help with the data enrichment part. So I just wanted to give you a short overview of how that might work, again, with your current process. So two scenarios that I wanted to talk about today. The first one is scraping groups, communities on social network, like, for example, meetups, Git Awards, best people in a specific technology in your location, some other communities that you can get the foot in. We have a really nice playbook developed with Marcel Wandermeyer about scraping the communities. So if you are interested, guys, we can also share it in the follow-ups. And you can, this is a very detailed playbook about using Data Miner and Phantom Buster, which are great scraping tools, and how they can automate this part of the process. But what I wanted to show quickly is what we can do if we already have a list of emails. Well, a list of emails, that means we just know these people have been, again, let's say they come to some Java meetup, and I just have the registration emails. So now I want to match an email with a name. And make sure that I find real candidates out there. So what we have here in Amazing Hiring, for example, this is the interface for the engagement, for the data enrichment that you can use. So I have a list, registration list, some names, company, and email. When I import it to the system, what actually the system does, it matches these parts of information that we have with aggregated profiles that were created based on all these 50 different sources. So that helps me to have a look at the full profiles of people. So when I import the file into the system basically is in the process of matching. What can be the second scenario, which is even more interesting for us, and we've been using it a lot in sales as well. This is revisiting of your old candidates. So you probably have big database with candidates that were once active. They applied to your positions once, but let's say they failed technical interviews. Well, it happened 2 years ago, and these people probably have been working on their skills, have been studying, and as they have already expressed their interest in your company once, that probably makes them like a bit more warmer candidates for you, especially when you would revisit them yourself. So works in the same way. You have data from your ATS, and you can match this data, old LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or GitHub or Stack Overflow URLs or emails, and we can match them with aggregated profiles. The cool thing about aggregated profiles, they're always updated. So we know what these people are doing right now. And we can search across all the people that we've just find people that have some specific skills, or maybe look at the ratings, and so on and so forth. Again, make sure that the old data is not just getting more old, but make sure we can use and reuse it one more time. So that's the candidate data enrichment, which is, I think, a big emerging trend, because big companies and corporations, well, they would have a lot of people already in their database. We just need to make sure we are using it to the most extent. Okay, so a few other tools here. So guys, let us know if you have any questions about them. We would be happy to answer some follow-up questions about our experience. We put together a few links that we believe are good sources for all the news about the automation and all the new tools. And we wanted to have a look at your questions. So if we would go to the questions part. Cool. Mark, I see that you've been answering the questions on the go. I see there is a lot of interest to the metrics file. Cool. So as I promised, we would share the link to the Excel metrics sheet and also the playbook in the follow-up. Is there an option? Okay. Seeking for a new opportunity. Okay, I see, Mark. You've done all the job already.
Thank you very much, guys.
It's not LinkedIn Recruiter. They're not going to indicate whether they're looking for opportunities, and I put my kind of personal thing in. So it's like the problem with people who do is that it's a bit. If you're as old as me and you were there when a Monster was the go-to thing, that every morning it was about being the first recruiter to refresh your screen, and whoever had uploaded their CV to Monster to be the first one to call them. That's a bit what LinkedIn is now with LinkedIn Recruiter. Whoever is in whatever field you're in, whoever actively says they're looking for opportunities, you know they're going to have 200 emails within an hour. So by using tools, look, not everybody's going to be interested, and some people are going to say, tell you to go away and never contact them again. But that's an answer for me as well. I try to respect people's time, and also why I put the video in there, because it's 45 seconds for the most part, where I just say, who I'm representing, why I'm interested in talking to them, and how they can get in touch with me. And when I follow up, again, just trying to look, this is why I want to talk to you. But I know that a lot of them are not going to be interested. But I want to give them an opportunity to talk to me, to find out if they were interested at some point in the future, what would that be about? What would I have to be able to present to them for them to be interested? And yeah, that's what it's about.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you can hear me now. And I do, huge apologies. It was working in the whole run-up that we were online and just checking everything. And then as soon as we went live, my laptop stopped working. So apologies, everyone. Really great webinar, really insightful. Mark, I know you've been answering the questions as we've gone along, so thank you very much for that. For everyone online, apologies if you were having a few issues with some of the sounds and everything else as well. We have recorded this webinar, so what we'll do is we will follow up with you, share the recording, and then you can share it with your team as well if they weren't quite able to get on. Amazing hiring. We've got a lovely little promo code for you guys. We'll include that in the follow-up as well. But please do feel free to reach out to both Mark and Yulia as well. I'm sure they'll be more than welcome to take any questions if you wanted to ask them privately, and about how perhaps their tool might be able to work for you specifically as well. So thank you very much to everyone. Apologies for the start of it. I didn't hear anything that was said at the beginning, so apologies if it was a little bit of a mess, but good old technology, always working when you need it to. So thank you very much, everyone, and do feel free to carry on the conversation. Hope to see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks, guys.